a tactical 40K here in the layer of my 40K realm. Sorry, the camera. Here we go. Let's get this squared away here. All right. So interesting releases since I've been gone. Of course, we have the Deathcore Krieg. That's really cool. I used to have a guard army painted, and then I never played it. Was traded in for Space Marines, and that's where I got into Raven Guard. Which, if you didn't hear, Raven Guard actually won a tournament, fairly large tournament, and that was on a lot of these channels talking about the meta and all that jazz. So that's pretty cool. Get this out of the way just a little bit. There we go. I think we're good. So that's interesting. You check out that list. A lot of JPI, Shrike, and the sort. And of course, if you didn't know JPI, now get OC2 with him. Plus, you're running that new Oath. I guess it's not new now, but the +1 to wound. It's not bad. We're running something not that. We're a lot different in my new Raven Guard list. I'm circling back to some Terminators, and I want to do a little more thematic stuff, but we also got things going on with the Custodes list. Currently building another grav tank. I got my another thing of Ventari and the Dreadnoughts. I got one of each besides the Contemptor, which I could get that anytime. Ooh, got some. Excuse me. The Contemptor, which is good in Solar Spearhead. It really is. Actually, I mean, with that extra movement, get him on objective, dies, raises. But the other thing, the reason I really wanted to do this video is we got the Aeldari release, and here's the thing. I've been toying around with getting into one Xenos army, and I was looking at orcs, I was looking at, really looking at Necrons. I liked the tools that they had. A little light on certain things, like melee, unless you get into running, their gods, whatever they call this, Catan. So what I end up finding is when they finally they released this Aeldari book. I've been looking into it, reading it, and really for a military style list, combined arms list, utilizing things, assets that prep the battlefield that allow you then to move with a main element, a supporting element, having different fields of fire, having maneuverability, just the way that the units are specified in their roles. I decided that I landed on them, and there's really no debate in the momento. So we got our first purchase here. So Lycus, really like that. So right now we're building one element of the army right now. I already have kind of a list built how I want to go about it. So right now we're doing our fast maneuver, melee type units that can cross the board quickly and really disrupt the enemy. But anyway, so Lycus and some Warp Spiders, which I don't have them yet, but will momentarily. Jane Czar, and Howling Banshees. I just happened to get the last one of those where I'm at. And then of course the Aeldari book. Which the Aeldari book, I'll tell you this, the Aeldari book is about the thickest codex so far I've seen, or that I have, up there with the Space Marine, generic Space Marine codex. And I mean, I just skimmed through it. There's a lot of stuff to read in here. A lot of stuff. A lot of data sheets in this thing. I mean, this thing is cool. Like, some of this stuff is pretty awesome. I don't know if you can see. Like, they go into the lore, and I didn't even know about this, to be totally honest, but I'm going to get into it a little bit, read. It's kind of interesting, but oh man, they got a lot of units. They got a lot of units to do things that have specific roles. Granted, Eldar, I call them Eldar still, Aeldari, whatever. They're glass cannons. I don't think they're going to be as terrifying as they were in the past. Reason being is because once you know how to play them, if anything, if I'm reading this and building this army, I will know how to play against them. I'll know their capabilities. And one of the things about this army I see right now is if you can catch them, you evaporate them. There's just no way around it. They're just not that strong physically. like a Space Marine or Custodes body. But anyway, that's what we're doing. So right now we're building our kind of our ground elements, our melee guys. So we got the Janzar and the Howling Banshees. We got the Lycus. Each one of these serves a different role. Particularly like these guys and Janzar. Anti-infantry 3. You couple that with that book right there has, I think it has 8 detachments in it. I think plus whatever the other attachments, like the one you have for the Grotmus stuff. It's incredible. Some of these really, there's a lot of synergies within there. Right now you watch probably a bunch of videos of guys playing this. There are things in this that you can do in this book because there's so much and so many units that they barely scratch the surface. There's gonna be combos that are gonna be pretty awesome. When we get into the shooting part of our army, of course everybody's running the Azerman. I'm gonna be running like a Fuegan and probably an Azerman. And the thing with this, the Phoenix Lords and all that, they're really cool. But anyway, I'm probably gonna be running that and then running some mission play. So I'm debating right now. I'm probably gonna go Striking Scorpions. We're probably gonna get some indirect fire assets too, Wave Serpents, and then maybe an Avatar King. It depends on the points loadout. We're gonna, I've been bouncing around that or some other units. But anyway, awesome codex. Like I said though, they do have weaknesses. They're really not that strong when it comes. You got T3 bodies running around and really susceptible to indirect fire. There's not a lot of lone ops. I think the Solitaire, and there might be like one of those guys that are psychers around some of the other things that get kind of like a Tech Marine type lone op. So they are susceptible to things like indirect fire. That's why you're gonna have to run transports a lot of times with them or keep them off the board and come in. And even then, that might not be the best. They'll still, I guess you just can't get around having to run a transport with some of these bodies unless you're willing to just take the heat. There's not as much in the way of deep strikers like you do have in the Space Marine Codex, where you have the Terminators, you have the JPI, you have the ability to give deep strike in certain factions like Ultramarines. Same thing with Custodes. Custodes having a lot of deep striking units. There's going to be ways to interdict this army. If you can play through turn 1 and perhaps turn 2, later stage in the game, you're just going to wipe them off the board. But what they lack in toughness, they gain in maneuverability. If you haven't already known, they have some unique army rule now with agile maneuvers, plus just the normal data sheets with the amount of ground that they can cover. Whether that be just normal moving, whether that be advancing, whether that be using their agile maneuvers in conjunction with that and being able to like advance and charge with some of the units, getting on the board. Their weapons characteristics are very unique from what I've seen from the Imperium, where there's a lot of anti-blah blah, anti-infantry, anti-monster, a lot of lethal hits, a lot of dev ones. There's a lot of little things in there. So you look at their weapons, it's like, oh, that's only a strength 4 thing, but it's an giant infantry, whatever, 3. So it's like a strength 4, 2, 2. And then you're just like, yeah, it's not that bad. So there's a lot of little things that can be done. When you get into the detachments, they're laid out for different types of Aeldari, and they complement each other too. So you got things that can complement not only the unit and the data sheet, but the unit, the data sheet, or the unit and the data sheet are the same thing, but the data sheet, the agile maneuver, and give it something else. So you got things that you can move a unit out. They shoot with the sustained ones, plus you can, or whatever, fade. You can do things with them. I can't off the top of my head, but there is a lot of play in this. It's going to be a highly skilled army. If you just playing for fun and you're just willy-nilly throw them out there, they're going to be evaporated, especially in the realm of indicator tanks and a lot of shooting Marines are massive shots and getting into combat with them. I mean, granted, some fights first or whatnot, but you just can you can really make mistakes. But if you were willing to play the tactical game, which I really like to, the Aeldari are an awesome Xenos army, and I think it gives you the tools to have fun, to maneuver around the board, to really complement each other's units, where things like the Custodes kind of lack that flavor. Even though I like Custodes and I'm building armies, with custodies that that are trying to do that, it's really hard. The Space Marines are the only thing that's kind of close to that I have right now, where you can complement each other a little bit, and some of the factions you got stratagems that can really do that as well. And we're still building, like I said, got my Raven Guard list, I got an Ultramarines list, I got a Dark Angels list I'm still painting on the line. Here's where we got so far. Just kind of working on his cape a little bit, got some gold a little bit of gold on there, just starting, got his head just started. So we're just finishing up on him, and that's one of those other armies that we can make where we have a main element and then complementary forces around it. So that one I'm actually looking forward to as well, playing, because I think that we're getting into the meta where you have the Aeldari. They're really going to change things up at what armies you bring to a competitive scene, and you really got to have something for almost everything, or a real rounded army that complements itself. So we might have to move away from like the Custodies to be competitive, even though I like playing them, because the fact that they are kind of monopic in a sense, where you can make a Dark Angels army that's a little more well-rounded, or a Blood Angels army, because we have, I got Dante and the Sanguinor, but I don't have anything else yet, which we might be getting some Sanguinary Guard. But there are things you can do with these armies that lend them to being more well-rounded. But Aeldari just out the gate are like that, and all you got to do is kind of let's plug and play a few things, read the data sheets. Everybody has their specific role, which I really like. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. If you're into a Xenos army, check them out. I'll probably have some stuff on the Custodies. I'm building, like I said, I'm building a Ventari unit. I'm building another Grav tank. I'm building these dreadnoughts here. They're in boxes still, and we're gonna put that. See if we can build some units. But right now, I just got a lot and little time to do. So this Aeldari army is probably gonna be sitting in a box for a little while. I got a airbrush painter that I've had for years. I finally got it back, so we'll use that a little bit, test some of those things out on them, which I'm excited because I used to do that for fishing lures, and it works out really well. But anyway, if you're into that, I'd get that codex. It's pretty awesome. If not, hey, there's gonna just be flexible with the other armies. If you're a Space Marine player, which is probably who was watching me, or a Custodies player, be flexible. Look at what you can do to build around this, because it's probably going to be hot and heavy for a little bit with some of the top tables. So, but there are ways to do it, especially as a Space Marine player. A lot of ways to do it. I think. Oh, here's the last thing. I think when it comes to Custodies, with this list, you're going to start seeing Talons of the Emperor a little bit more. Reason being is because of reactive move, and then the ability to get, what was I going to say? The reactive move essentially is going to be it. But when you run the Talons of Empire, and I think now you got to take full units, and that kind of reduces your unit count a little bit, which kind of sucks. But you're going to see a lot more sisters running around too, because when you reduce that unit count and you're making beefier units, you need stuff to anti-deep strike. Me, I might try the Solar Spearhead or the Shield Host, but when you're running infantry-based Custodies, more than likely Talons of the Emperor, I predict, are going to be the go-to method to be more well-rounded. But we shall see. Anyway, talk to you later. Peace.